Before we get started, I want you to do something. Open a terminal on your computer and type ARP-A. What you're looking at is your computer's memory of the devices it has already discovered on your local network. Now think about this for a moment. What if someone on your network could convince your computer they are a different device altogether? Could they intercept your traffic? Could they see information that wasn't meant for them? Those aren't just hypothetical questions. Attackers have techniques designed to take advantage of this process. One of those techniques is called ARP spoofing. Before we can understand how defenders detect and defend against this, we first have to understand how ARP works.
When the ghost is in the wire, we defend or go home.
That's right, defend or go home. Welcome back to Digital Defenders, the podcast that helps you level up your tech game. I'm your host, Mr. Nolan, aka the Intel Guy. And if you haven't been able to tell, I've been pretty busy this summer. I've been writing on Medium. I've been posting videos here on the channel. And honestly, I've been doing everything that I can to level up my own tech game so that I can bring better content your way. If you've been following along since episode 1, thank you. I really appreciate the fact that you've subscribed to the channel and you've been sharing out the podcast to your friends. If these episodes in any way have been helpful, leave me a comment and let me know. Tell me what you're studying, what certification you're working toward, or maybe even what topic you'd like to see next. I read every single comment and they really help me make some decisions about the direction in which we need to take the podcast. Now, on our last episode, we learned that the ping command answered one simple question. Do you remember what it was? That's right. Can I communicate with another host on the network? Today, we're taking the next step in building our defenders methodology. Once we've confirmed communication is possible, the next question becomes, who am I actually communicating with on the network? And that's where ARP comes in. And I know someone may be saying right now, what does ARP stand for, Mr. Nolan? And I'm glad that you asked. ARP stands for Address Resolution Protocol. And don't let the name intimidate you because ARP really only has one job to do. And here it is. It connects an IP address to a MAC address. That's it. Easy peasy. And here's the way in which you can remember it. An IP address tells your computer where another device is located on the network. But a MAC address, it tells your computer exactly which device it's communicating with on the network. And guess what? Your computer needs both of them. It has to know where it's sending information, but it also needs to know exactly which device it's sending information to. And that's what ARP does for us. It matches an IP address with the correct MAC address so communication can happen. And here's the thing. Defenders need ARP in their toolbox. Listen, if you've been following this series, then you probably have noticed a pattern. Everything that we learn is helping us build a defender's methodology. That defenders need a process in which they can use from start to finish to defend and protect the network. That's right. Before a defender can investigate alerts or hunt for threats, or before they can respond to any incidents or events that are happening on their network, they first have to understand the environment. And that's why ARP matters. It gives defenders another piece of the puzzle for them to be able to know what's on their network, what needs to happen if the wrong thing is on their network, and how they need to move forward in protecting their network. Now, how does ARP actually work? Let's say that your computer wants to communicate with another local computer on the network. Maybe it's your printer, or maybe it's another computer. Maybe it's a default gateway. Listen, your computer already knows the IP address. What it doesn't know is the MAC address. So what it does is it sends out what's called an ARP request. Think of it like this. Say you're standing in a classroom and you're asking, who has this IP address? Every device on your local network hears the question that's being asked, but only one device answers. That device sends back what's called an ARP reply, saying, I do, and here is my MAC address. Your computer remembers that information so that the next time it needs to communicate, guess what? It already knows exactly which device it's talking to. Most of this happens in the background and you never actually see it. So let's take some time out to pull up a demonstration so that we can see how this actually plays out in the real world. All right, let's get started. I'm using an educational environment lab that allows me to use both an Ubuntu and a Windows VM. This is for educational purposes only. So remember, do not use any of these techniques on any network or host that you've not been authorized to actually use it on. So we're going to pull up this Ubuntu terminal, and inside of the Ubuntu terminal, we're going to use the ARP command, ARP-A. And the first thing that we're going to notice is that we have a column for IP addresses. Remember, the IP address tells your computer where another device is located on the network. Think of it like your best friend's phone number. When you dial that number, your phone knows exactly where to send the call. And that's what an IP address does. It tells your computer where the destination is actually located. The next column contains the MAC addresses. MAC address, as we already know, is a unique hardware address assigned to a particular device's network interface card. Think of it like your friend's name saved in your contacts. You don't have to remember the phone number because your phone already knows which number belongs to that particular friend. Your computer works in a similar way. ARP keeps a record that matches an IP address with the correct MAC address so that your computer knows exactly which device it's communicating with. Finally, you'll notice ENS5. This is the name of the network interface on this particular Ubuntu VM. Think of it as the connection this computer is using to communicate with the network. Every network interface has a unique name assigned by the operating system. Now here's something that's really important. ARP is not a host discovery tool. When you run ARP-A, you're not seeing every device on the network. Instead, ARP actually keeps a record of the devices your computer has already communicated with on the local network. Think about the recent call list on your phone. Your recent calls don't show every contact you've ever saved. They only show the people you've recently communicated with. The ARP table works the exact same way. It keeps a record of the devices your computer has already communicated with by storing the IP addresses along with their corresponding MAC addresses. If your goal is to discover every device on the network, ARP is not the tool for you. That's where a tool like Mmap actually comes in, and we'll cover that in our next series. Now let's take a look at this same command on a Windows computer. I'll open up a command prompt and I'll type ARP-A. The outlook looks a little bit different, but it still shows us the exact same information. Look, at the top you'll see the interface followed by an IP address. This simply tells us what network interface Windows is actually displaying the information for. Below that, you'll see 3 columns. See, the first column says internet address. Those are the IP addresses of devices that the computer has already communicated with. That's it, simple. The second is the physical address. This is really Windows' way of saying this is the MAC address. Now, the third column is what's called type. Entries marked dynamic were added automatically as Windows communicated with other devices on the network. And the entries marked static are entries Windows already knew about. So some were there and some weren't there, and Windows has a way of showing us what they are by using the type column. So whether you're using Ubuntu or Windows or any other operating system, ARP works exactly the same way. The output may look a little bit different, but the network concept stays the same. So why should defenders really care about this in the first place? And that's because defenders don't just look for attacks. They look for changes. Yeah. Before you can recognize something suspicious, you first have to understand what's normal. Your ARP table gives you a record of the devices your computer has communicated with over the network. And most of the time, that's exactly what you'd expect. Your router stays the same. Your printer stays the same. Here's the other computer across from you, maybe even a server. But what if you suddenly noticed a device you don't recognize? Or what if the MAC address associated with that familiar IP address suddenly changes? Yeah, those are questions worth investigating. Now, that doesn't automatically mean that you are under attack. There are legitimate reasons why entries can change. But defenders don't ignore those changes. They begin asking questions. And that's what a defender's mindset is really all about. Understanding what's normal so we can recognize what's abnormal. Then we investigate. Later in this series, we're going to come back to the questions that we've been asking since the beginning. How do attackers abuse this process? And that's where ARP spoofing comes in. Today, we've learned that ARP connects IP addresses to MAC addresses. We learned that it keeps a record of the devices, so to speak, on our computer so that it can communicate with other computers on the local network. We learned why that information matters to defenders. Next time, we'll continue adding another tool to our defenders toolbox as we keep building a practical methodology for understanding and defending modern networks. Listen, until next time, keep learning, keep training, and remember, that's right, defend or go home.